I am honored to present AB 1066, a measure by Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez. Before many of us have actually had our coffee today, to start off the day, the California farm worker has already been working in our fields and orchards throughout the great state of California. Their callous hands feed this nation. Their strength, their sweat, and their determination for a better life has driven our state's $54 billion annual agriculture economy. Yet farm workers are among the least paid and the most exploited in our nation. Minimum wage is standard pay for most farm workers. In fact, there are a lot of farm workers who don't even receive the minimum wage. Their working conditions, abysmal. Their housing, substandard. Their health care, almost non-existent. Agriculture is consistently ranked one of the 3 most hazardous occupations in the United States. Death is no stranger in the fields. A recent investigation by a major newspaper in California found that farm workers die of heat exposure at a rate that surpasses all other industries with outdoor workers. In fact, Cal OSHA has reported that more than 20 farm workers have died in the state of California due to heat exposure. And that is since the enactment of the California Heat Illness Prevention Act of 2005. However, there are other sources who say that that is actually double the number in California. The life expectancy of a farm worker is 49 years of age. Colleagues, that is 49 years of age. That means if this Senate body were to be transported into the agricultural fields today, 3/4 of us wouldn't be alive if we worked as a farm worker full-time. Men and women and often children start their workday at the crack of dawn. The work, as we know, is backbreaking, requiring repeated bending and heavy lifting under unrelenting, brutal heat. The chemical exposure, as we know, is a constant danger. In fact, the United States EPA has reported that over 300,000 farm workers are exposed to dangerous chemicals. We believe that the number actually is much more and often goes unreported. At the end of a 10, 12, 14-hour day, farm workers return to makeshift housing where they find no sanctuary from the hardships of their existence. Colleagues, they live in conditions that we would never accept. Water contamination, mold, inadequate heating, raw sewage, inadequate sanitation facilities, vermin, the threat of pesticide drift. And these are just a few of the charms that can be found in a labor camp today in California. State labor and housing laws are often ignored. Colleagues, the measure I present today is an attempt to right a wrong that has its origins in the Fair Labor Standards Act passed by Congress in 1938. In fact, the very first time that overtime was established for private sector workers was an act by Congress back in 1938. And it was born from racism because there were Southern congressional members who made it very clear that they wanted to exempt farm workers from overtime. Because at the time in the South, African-American black labor were the farm workers of the time. Cotton and tobacco. That is back in 1938. That is why today, fast forward to 2016, there is no overtime for farm workers. Naked racism was used to justify this exemption. In fact, Congressional member J. Mark Wilcox of Florida argued, and I quote, "Then there's another matter of great importance in the South, and that is the problem of our Negro labor. There has always been a difference in the wage scale of white and colored labor. You cannot put the Negro and the white man on the same basis and get away with it, end quote. Today, colleagues, we have the opportunity here in California to erase the inequality of our agricultural overtime laws that was born out of shameful racism. The great pride that we share in California's world-renowned agricultural industry is tempered by the shameful plight of the farm worker today. Colleagues, we also cannot divorce ourselves from their plight because they touch our lives every single day. They are the ones who are responsible for the fruit that go into our child's or our children's lunch pails or boxes. They are responsible for the fruits and nuts that we eat that drive us to go to the gym before we work out. And perhaps closer to home, perhaps much too close for comfort, farm workers are responsible for much of the food that we provide our political contributors at the fundraisers we hold across the street, whether it's at Ella's or Chops or Esquire or elsewhere. All of that food and all of those hors d'oeuvres, they were picked by farm workers, their callous hands throughout the great state of California. Today, we have the opportunity to do right by them. We have a chance to change our overtime law to respect and provide the human dignity that they deserve. Colleagues, it is time that we right this wrong. Because again, these are the men and women, and yes, teenagers and children, who wake up at the crack of dawn and oftentimes work under brutal, unrelenting heat, that sun, for pennies. I think it's not too much to ask to do what's right by them. Quisiera nomás compartir algunas palabras muy breves en español. Para todos los campesinos y todos los trabajadores agrícolas que trabajan desde la madrugada hasta el anochecer, haciendo todo lo posible para mejorar la condición humana de sus familias aquí en este gran país. Porque son las mujeres y los hombres que sembran y que piscan la cosecha, día tras día, noche tras noche, mes tras mes, año tras año. La alcachofa, la fresa, la uva, el apio, la cebolla, el durazno. Son las mujeres y los hombres que trabajan bajo el sol brutal todos los días para exportar las almendras y las nueces, las pasas, a lo largo ancho de este gran país y a lo largo ancho de este gran estado. It is these men and women who pick the strawberries and the grapes and the artichokes and the onions and the almonds and the nuts and the cute cuties, the citrus tangerines and the tangelos and all other products that we can imagine that we export to the rest of the nation that feed us and that nourish us. I want to thank some of the representatives on this floor today because their constructive input has helped shape this measure also too. I want to give a special recognition also to our senator for the Sacramento area, Dr. Richard Pan, because of his concern for dairy farmers in California and for the small farmer in California. Because for the small farmer in California, the measure has been shaped where it will begin the phase-in 6 years from now and finalized in 10 years. That is a decade from today, a whole decade. We'll give plenty of time for the agribusiness to work out the hours needed with our farm workers and the production that is required to make sure that we do right for California consumer prices, but especially for the plight of the farm workers. Let's collectively right this wrong. Together we can do something that is historic for our farm workers. Let's do right by them. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator De Leon.